thing, and
Yeah.
the AI with stable diffusion and all this is just concocting this massive event. No one knows about it.
Yes.
And
Just
then
automatically, as an AI agent, does it for you and links up with all the other AI agents.
so like
Yeah.
by Friday night you get this invitation
It's ready to go.
and it's ready to go, and it's
Yeah.
got like this giant unicorn in the center of the and with all the and you were like, this is exactly what I wanted.
The drones would have all flown in with the materials, and
Yeah.
the robots would have all built it out. Yeah, that's it.
I
Or
mean,
just have the logistics planned out too, right? For the third-party contractors to do it. Yeah.
I
In the
mean,
meantime,
this is just
that's amazing. Yeah, and imagine if your digital versions are actually having a much better time than you are actually in real time, and then it's like sending you photos of them with all the Midjourney version 5 backdrops of being in the Bahamas. And
oh my god. Well, what
having a good
about
time.
if you needed to be in 2 or 3 or 10 places at once,
Yeah.
and you have these other versions of
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
And
It's
you-
like AI with the metaverse. Like this is how you can actually facilitate it. You could be at everywhere all at once. It's like everything everywhere all at once.
everywhere.
Like Emad was saying, right? It's Emad from Stability AI. So he's they just released Stability XL, I think. Yeah.
I haven't heard that news. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff I haven't. Yeah, I've kind of been a bit slow this week. But there was one thing
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, and that is that there was a lot of on the AI dilemma. They mentioned that even though it was like they have researchers on the exponential curve, well aware that this thing's going exponential, and they still get their predictions like 4x lower than what is actually happening.
Yeah. I mean, even the transhumanists I'm talking to, some of them hadn't been across the last 3 or 4 weeks of developments, right? So they're still thinking, okay, it's the whole hype about ChatGPT. Like, no, that's old news. Even AutoGPT is old news, right?
Oh my gosh.
We're all about simulations now. It's kind of like, and practical applications. The fact that this is rolled out in every single product line. Like Amazon finally got onto the bandwagon with AWS, and the whole release of everything that they used to have, SageMaker, is now enabled through Anthropic AI, right? All these models are coming into their traditional prediction models, image classification, text classification, image recognition. All of these are going to be supercharged by these new large language models, and then combining that in the stack of AWS architectures and Azure and all those sort of things that make that end-to-end software development cycle work. It's really just gonna really exponentially grow those usability and like predictability. I'll tell you what, it's probably going to be the most unpredictable time that we're living in.
This
human
is the
history,
most
right?
unpredictable. So, 2029. How far off are we?
Yeah, 2029 is too far away. Like we're talking over the next 2 to 3 years, right? So it's the adoption that's always going to limit out. But the thing is, it's so disruptive that you're going to have startups that just pretty much remake every other organizational feature, right? And 10x the reduction in the cost, because you're just going to need one developer. Then it doesn't even have to be a 10x developer. It could just be a normal person that knows what people want, like Stripe, right? You could just rebuild Stripe with 10x, a
Stripe
10x
is,
reduction in the cost.
Credit card processing.
Yeah, and all it does is have really good APIs to be able to connect in for people to integrate with their websites. So as sort of a fintech feature, the main sort of cost of it is sort of all that people maintaining the code and trying to onboard more customers. But if you have an AI agent for you to do the sales and marketing, have GPT-4 to do the coding, and then these other AI agents to plug in all the different sort of components to help make that API much more compelling.
So that's
Just
all.
need one person, just like they rebuilt Flappy Birds using Midjourney and just a couple of codecs.
There's so much. I don't know what you'd call it. Like I don't know, like things, red tape that slows down everything that that we're so used to trotting through.
Yeah.
And
data and privacy is important, though, right?
Yeah,
That's the
but
thing.
there's so many things that need to. I mean, the law has to step up.
Yeah.
Our like there's this is also from the AI dilemma where if you like we won't have laws until like new technologies require new laws.
Mm.
So, like,
Mm.
for instance, uh, if if they gave the example of if China wanted to disrupt the US, all they would have to do is give a Biden and Trump audio filter to everyone on TikTok,
Yeah,
and it
exactly.
would create just mayhem.
Which
And
has already happened. Like you can do this like in a
yeah,
few minutes.
and it would be completely legal because there's no law against it. Just like when
Yeah,
Neuralink comes
yeah,
out, and we were able to read people's thoughts.
yeah.
There's no law against that yet. So they
Yeah,
would have to, you'd have to have like a right to think,
that's right.
privacy, and
Yeah,
all this. So I mean that when these new, every
yeah.
time these new sets of technologies come out, you have to
Yeah.
create laws for them.
I wonder if the legal system needs to sort of evolve to the point it needs to be dynamic, principle based, and also like real time updated based on the real time thoughts of people, right? Experiences. Is it making them better off or worse off, like as a collective group, right? Because that's what democracy sort of serves, direct democracy on each individual policy. And if you could sync that up with real time experiences of users, then you can potentially like mitigate the damage that new technology has, right? It's
Yeah.
just like if people are feeling like they're being impersonated all of a sudden, okay, well, straight away you could automatically experience that in the collective consciousness of people.
So
Seeing
you
that.
mean direct democracy, or like what we've got or in the US, like you have a democratic republic?
Yeah, I
You have
mean it's inefficient,
representatives.
right? Because
Yeah.
you're relying you're relying you're having your faith in a representative that will
Yeah.
that they will do what they say on that particular
Mm.
policy. And usually it's usually policies that they sort of string up in the narrative to get you really roughed up and vote for them. And so if it's coming from the actual experiences of individuals, and that should translate into a resonance of what the policy should be. That's probably where the future of regulation and laws could come in. Because right now, you're right, it's so rigid, the red tape's too much to even get to them to comprehend what the issue is. Like, they argue about the whole, in self driving cars, they argued about the whole
Trolley problem.
the trolley problem,
They don't
which is
even,
like a
never
non
even
issue.
fixed it.
It's like, come on, like, how often is that going to happen? Like,
Yeah, it's a
seriously.
very
Yeah.
convoluted, contrived.
What they should be worried about is all those like Uber drivers and truck drivers and people in the driving industry that's like in the top 10 of the most employed people, and people in retail and manufacturing, right? All those people that will be disrupted by this automation because
See, this is the thing. We need a new economy
mm,
so that things don't fall through the floor.
yeah.
And then, I mean, look, if we take the let's just look at it at zero sums here. So the neuron is now we're able to do whatever our biological neurons can do eventually.
Mm.
So that means that anything that we have invested in education wise, skills wise,
Mm.
that's eventually not going to really mean much
Yeah.
because
It wasn't even that fun, right?
yeah,
Well, it wasn't even that
wasn't
much.
even fun.
It was meant to be an experience, but it was
Yeah.
just rope learning.
So it's like, if you spent 10, 15 years becoming a lawyer or a brain surgeon or whatever it is, I mean that is there because you put in the effort and you've attained that level, and your skills are scarce. That's kind of that doesn't it's not going to apply. It's going to apply less and less and less.
Yeah.
And so what will people do? And I guess it's like fulfillment. It really becomes about fulfillment. But then that's all well and good. But the whole economy has to transition
Yeah.
at the same at
right.
during that time.
And what is the economy, right? It's they measured in GDP, but it should be really a reflection of how fulfilled you are as an individual in that society.
Gross domestic fulfillment.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta get that up. Gotta coin it. Right. So
Gross
they try to do the whole gross happiness index, but people can just take some drugs and be off the rails. Have you seen that? You remember that cartoon video called Happiness with the rats? Going to work in their tires and squeezing into public transport. Chasing after their dreams and getting a parking ticket in their Ferrari because traffic jams. And it's like, oh, so sad. And then just becomes an alcoholic and starts chasing cheese and drugs, hard drugs, and it turns into Mickey Mouse because it's on drugs.
Oh my gosh, I need to
And then,
see
yeah.
this.
It's so good. It's by Steve Cutts. It's called Happiness. Yeah,
Okay.
check it out. It's really well made, high production value, but
Oh
it reminds me of just about everyday life.
my God. Well,
The rat race.
even in
Hmm.
like, cause I've dabbled in film production, etc.,
Hmm.
and I've worked in LA for a bit,
Hmm.
and the whole, I mean, now that we've got these tools,
Yeah,
and they're very,
that's right. Runway Gen 2.
yeah, and
Spin it up.
when they really mature,
Mm.
you will be able to create Marvel level
Yeah.
cinematic movies.
You'll be able to put yourself in those movies. Like Wonder
Yeah.
Studios, you saw that demo, right? It's just replace the human with an alien, just
Yes.
like through drag and drop.
Yes, that's
And they did it the real tests as well. I saw the
Wonder
live
Studio.
demos. Yeah, Wonder Studios.
Wonder
Yeah,
Studio. Yes.
they did the live demos. Like there's a bit of blur around the edges, but that can be fixed up in post,
Yeah, yeah,
especially if you're using a green screen, right?
Yeah.
And so like that's incredible. So you can become a Marvel character, and the
And
people will pay for that.
All of that skill set,
Yeah.
you know, being able to like
Mm.
mask out the characters, drop in different characters, animate
Oh,
it. That took so long, and it
Yeah.
was just a labor of love for a lot of these people who got
Mm.
paid and
Yeah,
were rorted in the industry, really.
Yeah.
And now it's just like one click of a button and your industry is
Hey.
finished.
Oh, well,
And
that's the
I
thing,
can
right?
talk because, you know,
Yeah,
I do
it's
websites.
yeah.
And I saw
Yeah.
a post by Woozy,
Mm.
and you know, it's just one click and your website's done.
Yeah.
Don't need web designers anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Well, that's the thing. It's like, all those little filling with the around the edges and the details around that shorts could be fulfilling for some people, but then they, just like that person we heard on Twitter, like, pretty much
yes,
leaving their
the lament.
the
of
3D designer job because
designer. Yes.
put so much love and sort of sweat into it. But now they can actually use that technology to actually build 1000x what they used to be able to do. So I think it's changing the mindset, and it's the people that can sort of think of that creative output as the vision and value of and the mission of what they're trying to do,
I think
as
that
opposed
you
to
could
like
you could
you
call
could
it
do that for a hobby, right? You could still do it
yes.
if you wanted to.
Yes, and I think another way of looking at it is that, that term, the sunk cost.
Yeah.
So people see it as they've invested so much time and effort learning something,
Spilt milk. Yeah.
and it's just, it's like I've spent all this time walking 18 kilometers to the mall, and in the last 2 kilometers I realized it's shut.
Yeah.
Well, it's just that feeling of I've wasted 18 kilometers of walking for nothing.
Man, this is why I love talking to like older, wiser people, because they're towards the end of their life, right? They might tell you, look, all of this stuff that you're worrying about, by the time you get to the end of it, it's like none of it matters, right? Just as long as you enjoy the journey. It's kind of, this is like, holy shit, are we all gonna feel that? Like by the time we get there, it's like, was it all a sunk cost? Yeah, this whole time, which is why we got to figure out how to extend our healthy human lifespans as much as we can, because I don't want to get that experience. I don't want to feel like it's a sunk cost.
Hey, that reminds me of my dad.
Mm.
My dad, well, my dad just told me, oh, I'm your dad. That was it. Like, I found out what he did. He would say, oh, he worked in certain things, and he was the tutor to President Marcos's son. He said that much, but then he didn't say other stuff. Like, I Googled my name. This is like 15 years ago, like early 2000s, mid 2000s. I Googled my name, and his name came up above my name. I'm like, what? My dad's name is above mine. And I found out that he was the author of several books, right? There was one, The Yakans of Basilan Island.
Wow.
So that's how he got his PhD.
Yeah, wow.
He went to Basilan Island as a native. He got accepted into the tribe, lived with them for years, learnt their language, and created an English to Yakan dictionary.
Wow. That's incredible.
So, and he didn't care. He didn't care. Like, that was just his thing to his academic life. It had nothing to do with his enjoyment of life. You know what I mean? It's like he wasn't gushing to go Roy, I did all this. Look, look
Oh,
at what your dad did. He didn't care.
oh no.
I